Hello everyone, welcome to our introduction to programming in Scala. In this lecture, we are going to look at operators and user input. Now, the main objective of this video is to look at more into variables and data types, understand the different kind of operators available and their purpose, and write some program that can receive user input from the keyboard. So before we continue, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, click on the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so that you are notified anytime there's new video uploaded. Okay, so now let's continue. So now let's look into data types, ranges, and assignment. Now, as we discussed in the previous lecture, we have numeric types that have range of values that can be assigned to them. Now, for example, when you have an integer, we can assign an integer to a long, or we can assign a float to a double, but we cannot assign a long to an integer because the values or the range of values that we have in long is larger than int. So you can assign a long data type to an int, but you can do the opposite. Likewise, you can assign a double to a float. A long can hold the entire range of integer values, but as we said, integer cannot hold all long values. Of course, if you do that, it's going to give you an error, like type mismatch in both cases. So we need to understand that. Secondly, we have what we call code blocks and block scope. A block is a sequence of expressions evaluated that are enclosed in braces. So you see the braces over here. So for example, we can take an example from a code just to explain. That's that when declaring a variable, you need to be aware of the block it is within so that it will be visible within that block. Now, so a variable cannot be accessed from within a block that is outside of one. So let's take an example so that you can understand. So let me just go to this scalar file, my string. And let's assume we can see that this is the block for the def main. So this is a block of sequence of expression. I can define another block. Let's say def test. Then open another block. So the def test is also another block. So whatever I define here, I can say var t int equal to 5 or 6. This variable t here can only be accessed in this block. So I can print t. But when I come in the main, I can print t. So you see that to give you an error. Once you see the red, you see t not found because the t has been defined here in this block. So this variable is only visible inside the test model or function. It's not visible here. To make sure that we can use both t in the def main and the test, then the best is to remove this variable declaration and put it outside the two functions, the def and the main. Then main can access it and test can access it. So that's what we are talking about. When you are declaring a variable, you need to be aware of the block it is within to determine the visibility. So now once you have put in the t here, main can access it and test can access it. But the moment we move the t, and let's say put it in the main, then also test cannot access it. So that's what we talk about variable visibility and how it can be accessed, or talk about the scope of the variable. You need to determine whether the scope is global or is local. Okay, so now let's continue. So now let's look at declaring variables. We can have multiple variable declaration. So when you look at here, we have var x, y, and z with a data type int, which has been assigned to 55. What it means is that x is 55, y is 55, z is also 55. We also have var ab, which is string and is hash, which means both a and b will be assigned to high. So that if the values or types are different, they must either go on a separate line. So for example, pi and flat has different data types. So for that one, you cannot put them on the same line. So we have to separate it. So you have pi, double, flag, boolean, true, then first char, this. We can also have var, last char. So this one, they all have the same data type, so we can put it on the same line. Okay, let's go and try it in the code and let's see. So now let's create, let me delete this function. Let's create another scalar file and call it, let's say, so new scalar file. Let's call it let's say variables, or let's add my variables. We select object, so we have object variable, and as usual we need to have our main method, so main tab to define it. So now first of all, let's try to declare multiple variables on the same line. So say var x, y, z, and it's all int, and set that equal to 55. We can also say var a, b, say a string, so equal to maybe hello. So now we want to see the content of x, y, and z. So we can say print line x. Let me just copy and paste. X, y, and z. We can also say print line a and print line b. So we are supposed to see 55, 55, 55, then 2 hellos. Now to run it, we can click on the run here, my variables. So now we can see we have 55, 55, hello, hello. So that's a way to declare variables or multiple variables in the same statement if they are of the same type. Okay. So let's try the other one. We have var pi, say is double. Then we assign it to 3.14. Var flag as boolean, say equal to true. The true is supposed to be in small letters. Then var first So that is car is equal to car. We use a single quotation. We can say also have var. We need to bring our semicolon. Var last also car equal to z. So you see that with this one, we are assigning different data or values to different data types. So we have to use a semicolon so that I can put the statement on the same line. So let's run it and see. Okay, we need to just print it. So if you want to print it, let me just print one. I know you can print the remaining one. I can print pi. So when I run it, I can see the values here. So that's a simple way of defining multiple variables on the same line, or assigning the same value to multiple variables. And I hope you understand it. Okay, let's continue. Now in Scala, we have the keyword val. When we are declaring a variable, we can either use var, var, or val. Var is truly a variable and can be changed. So when you define a variable and say var, the variable name, it means somewhere in the program you can change the value of that variable. But when you use val, V-A-L, then it cannot be changed. The content cannot be changed after you have declared or initialized it. So val, we use it for constant variables. So if you know that in the course of the project, the variable can change, then you have to use var, V-A-R. But if you want to assign constant value to a variable, then we use the keyword val. So when you look at the reassignment in this second bulletin point, we have var x int equals to 5, val y int equals to 10. We can multiply x by x and assign the value, which is accepted. We can subtract, which is accepted. But we can assign another value to y. We are going to have an error. Okay, let's try it and see. I always like to try the code so that I can see the effect. You can see the error that is generating. Then you can understand. So let's try it in our IntelliJ. Okay, so let me just comment this code so that when you run you can see. I will just comment it. I'll use block comment to comment everything. Okay, so on top here, let's try and see. So we have var x int equal to 5. So with this, the x is var. Now we have val y also int equals to 10. Now somewhere in the program, I can say x is equal to x plus 5. What it means is that I have added or increased the value of x by 5. Now the compiler will not throw any warning. But the moment I say y is equal to y plus 4, you see that has been underlined. So it's telling that reassignment to val is not possible because val or y is a val, it's a constant. So you cannot change the value. We can only use the content of the value y that we have assigned during declaration. So if you want to define a variable and the initial value is supposed to be kept constant, then you can use val. But if somewhere in the code the variable can change, then you have to use var. So know the difference of using the var keyword and the val keyword. Var is for a variable that is mutable. Val is immutable, which means you cannot change the content within the course of the program. I hope you understand. The video is taking long, so we are going to pause this video and move to the next session of this lecture. So I hope you have enjoyed this first part of variables and user input. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about type inference and accepting input from the keyboard. If you have enjoyed this video, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so that when new videos are uploaded, you'll be the first to watch. Thank you and see you again. Bye-bye.